If you love driving, then you'll love this brand new 2023 BMW M2. With this new generation, the M2 receives new looks, more power, more features, and more space. So, is this the M car to get, and how is it on the roads? Let's find out. All right, I'm behind the wheel. Let me tell you more about this brand new M2 and tell you about how it drives. First of all, let's just talk about the new looks. Man, this is a good looking sports coupe. I know BMWs, they tend to look the same, and the last generation M2 was good, but this new one really sets it apart, especially since this M2 looks different than the M3 and M4. The M3, M4 has this new kidney grille design up front. Very controversial. Some people like it, some people don't, but the kidney grills stretch all the way down to the bumper. This M2 does not look like that. It has revised kidney grills, and yes, they are bigger versus the last generation, and the grill also indents in more, but it has its own look, so you don't confuse the M2 with the M3 and M4, and I think that's a good thing because the M2 looks aggressive. It looks new, aggressive. You have certain parts that's just more masculine. If you look at the fender flares, they stick out more up front and in the rear, and that is why this M2 is now a little bit wider than the last generation. In fact, I was comparing dimensions. The track width of this M2 is the same as a M4. So this M2 did increase in size. Also, looking at the length, this M2 also stretched out almost by 3 inches versus the last generation. So now this M2 does not look like a small little sports coupe. It actually has a really good presence. It's low, it's wide, and it looks a little bit longer, but man, I'm so in love with this new look. And if you look on the side, you'll see staggered wheels. This M2 comes with 19-inch alloy wheels up front and 20-inch wheels in the back. They definitely give this M2 a nice presence. And of course, let's look at the back with those exhaust tips, quad exhaust tips underneath. You really can't mistake this M2 from a 2 Series or any other car out there. I really love it. I can't say enough about the brand new looks for this M2. This is exactly what you want with a sports coupe like this. You want to stand out but not be obnoxious about it, and I think this M2 really combines luxury, aggressiveness, sportiness all together. Now, besides the outside, the inside, of course, has been completely redesigned as well. The dash, the new screens, everything on the inside has been upgraded, and that's awesome. First, let's just look at these 2 giant screens. You have a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster in front of your face, and you have the BMW M colors. You'll see that theme everywhere on the inside, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But of course, this is right in your face. Big, bright. You can't really configure it much. And by default, you see the M lap timer right in front of you. Also, next to that, you get a larger screen. They're kind of integrated, tied together, but this larger screen for your infotainment system is even bigger, 15 inches. I like the way it looks. Of course, like many modern systems, this is the new iDrive 8 system. You just scroll left and right with your fingertips. Also, a few menu buttons on the side. I think it's pretty good. The only drawback to this is there's no more physical buttons for climate control. So you do have to basically utilize the screen for your dual climate control in here. That's the one thing you have to get used to, but everything else is pretty simple. And of course, BMW still gives you a rotary knob in case you don't want to use touch. You could use your fingers and use a couple buttons to navigate. But overall, I can't complain about the 2. I think it looks really nice with the 2 screens in front of you, kind of right there in front of the dash. I like it. And above it, you also get a heads-up display. I can't really display it well with my camera, but it's in your face, so that's kind of like another additional screen in front of you. Now, something else you'll notice in here right away is this new steering wheel. I love it. I love M-car steering wheels because they're just beefiness to them, the thickness, the way they feel in your hands, fantastic. This one, because it's a M2, you'll see the M color stitching. Yes, I said you're gonna see a lot of that M color theme inside. But you know, it's just, the leather feels good, the thickness, it's really thick, it feels good in your hands. You feel like you're just, you know, you're in control of the car, right? You have some carbon fiber inlays, you have paddle shifters in the back, also carbon fiber, and you see 2 M buttons for your configurations. Now you can customize it, especially if you want to go on the track or somewhere. I'll cover that in a little bit. But the button design is pretty simple to understand, but this steering wheel feels fantastic. Now, for the rest of the cabin, I like it. I think it looks good. Under the screen, the trim pieces, you see carbon fiber, right? That's right underneath the screen. Also, the center console area, you see carbon fiber pretty much everywhere. Of course, mixed in with the leather inside and the M colors. It's a good looking cabin. Also, the seats, good. Besides the colors, I like the look of the seats. The design looks good. They feel good too. They're not very cushy, right? This is not meant to be very comfortable seats, but they're not comfortable. The bolsters are aggressive. They're holding my back. The bottom bolsters for your thighs isn't too aggressive. So even me, I'm on the larger side and I still fit very comfortably, and I could feel it. It's holding me in. So when you're taking those sharp corners and turns and bends, right, you're not gonna like fly around in your seat. It's holding you in, and I do like these seats a lot. Now, there are 2 other seats in here. This is a 2+2, but no one could fit back there. If you look, there's no leg room at all. Your kids are not going to fit. So your gym bag, your briefcase, they'll go in the back, and that's pretty much it. Just utilize the front seats because no one is going to fit in the back. Whoa! Oh man, this M2 is fast. Let's talk about the brand new powertrain next. So with this M2, now you receive the same engine that's inside the M3 and M4, but detuned. On paper, this new inline twin turbo engine, 6-cylinder, produces 453 horsepower and over 400 pound-feet of torque. So on paper, it's rated 20 horsepower less than the new M3 and M2. So obviously, BMW did that because it's a lesser expensive car versus those two, right? But here's the thing, even though on paper it's rated 20 less horsepower, people have taken their M2s and have gone to dynos with them to see the actual power output, because BMW is notorious for underrating their engines for whatever reason. So people have found that M2s are very, very, very underrated. In fact, the ones that have been dynoed shows that this M2 is pushing more like 420 to the wheels. And if you take into account the drivetrain loss, this M2 is really pushing over 500 horsepower. 500! So this is a very fast M car. 0 to 60 comes in around 3.5 seconds. And whenever I floor it, I get blown away. I get pushed back. And keep in mind, I have driven a lot of EV cars with instant torque. This one, because it's gas, you do have to wait a little bit longer. But once that rev gets up and the turbo boost kicks in, you're pushed back. This is a very fast car. And it sounds pretty good too. It doesn't sound as good as an 8-cylinder, but for a 6-cylinder, it sounds pretty good. And when you're not flooring it and you're just driving around town, very quiet. The exhaust is not unbearable, it's not obnoxious, it's not annoying. There's a slight throatiness to it, that's it. But when you do put your foot down, oof, get ready. So This brand new M2 definitely has what it takes to basically compete with any sports car out there, even ones that cost more than this from within BMW's own family. That's the thing. That makes this M2 so amazing. Now, because this is an M car, you can configure different driving modes. Okay, there's 2 buttons on the steering wheel, so they are M configurations. You have M1 configuration, M2 configuration. Basically, you preset how you want the car to behave. If you want the engine to be more aggressive, or the transmission to be more aggressive when it's shifting, or the suspension, you want to be harsher or softer, how the steering feels, how the brake feels, how the traction control behaves. You can control all that with these M configurations, and BMW gives you 2 of them. Okay, but in addition, you can just be off M modes and just configure however you want the car to behave. So you can configure this however you want. Right now, I'm driving around in comfort, and efficient. Okay, so this is the most relaxing drive you can get with this M2. And even so, I still feel the sportiness of this M2. The suspension is nice around curves. I don't feel any body roll at all. I mentioned the seats holding me in, fantastic. But I do feel a little bit more from the road, that's for sure. Remember, there are big wheels with small sidewall tires, but combined with the aggressive suspension in here, I do feel more from the road. Not uncomfortable, but I do feel a lot more. However, this car certainly makes up for it when you're taking a corner or a bend, because it feels so planted, so good. You know, I just got done reviewing a Toyota GR86, and I know the 2 cars are not really comparable. This costs more than double of that car. I thought the GR86 was fantastic, but this is on a whole other level. So this M2 that I'm driving comes with the 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. And it does have a sport mode, so if you want to shift yourself, you could definitely do so using these large paddle shifters. And you know what? It's a little bit more enjoyable, but you can configure the M2 with a 6-speed manual with 3 pedals. So I'm looking forward to testing that out in the future, because 6-speed manuals are just so much fun. And with this much power, it'll be amazing. But in the meantime, paddle shifting isn't too bad either. The cabin noise inside is good. It's a little bit louder due to these very aggressive tires. So I do hear a little bit more from the road, but from the outside, very well insulated. Don't hear much when the cars are passing by, or wind noise, just a little bit more road noise. Overall though, it's pretty good. And this is with the radio off right now too. Like I said before, this is not a slow car by any means. This is a really quick car. I do believe the reports, the dyno numbers that other people have reported. This does not feel like a 450 horsepower car. I have driven a lot of cars within this range, and this just feels faster. So to conclude, this M2 is so good, it makes me wonder why anyone needs to get an M4. Let's start out with the looks. For me, I like the M2 look better. I think it's more traditional. I like the kidney grills the way they are with the M2, not the way they are with the M4. They're just too outrageous with the M4, M3, but it depends on you. Looks are subjective, right? But I love the way this M2 looks. Also, since this M2 has increased in size, the presence of it looks very similar to the bigger M4. It's really hard to tell that the M4 is a bigger car. Also, this M2 has basically the same engine, even though on paper it's listed with 20 less horsepower, but based on these dyno readings that people are sharing, this is very underrated anyways. And you're getting over 500 horsepower under the hood, so I doubt you'll notice the 20 horsepower difference. So you're getting basically the same powertrain. Also, in terms of interior, you're getting all the latest BMW gadgets and features. And I didn't get to the best part. This M2 starts around $62,000. And after destination charge, $63,000. That's it. There's no other options to add on. Really, there's some small little things. But there is one larger carbon fiber package. If you really wanted a lot of carbon fiber, that comes at $10,000. But most people, I would say, will configure this as is, coming at $63,000. And when you compare this to the bigger brothers like the M3, M4, which starts in the 70s, mid 70s, and tops out into the 80s, well, if you consider that, then this M2 is definitely a bargain, and why I think it's a better car to get than the M4. This M2 is amazing, absolutely amazing. And when you look outside of BMW and you look at all the other performance sports sedans or sport coupes out there, I would say this is towards the top. It's one of the best and most fun cars I've ever driven. I'm definitely giving this M2 a thumbs up, and actually 2 thumbs up. So what are your thoughts about this brand new M2? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel and smash up the likes so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Take care. Bye-bye.